Welcome everybody. This is Dr. Arnett, and I'm going to give a brief overview of the Introduction to Technical Writing course, TCOM 2010. First off, let's define what technical writing is. There's a whole lot more to it than, I can talk for hours and hours about what technical communication is and never cover all of it. But here's some ideas. Now, please, I'm going to read this out loud to you. Forgive me for doing so. There's no better way to annoy an audience than to read something out loud to them, but I think this is important, so I'm going to read it anyway. Technical writing is an audience-specific means of communication. This form of communication saves the reader time by giving easy access to well-defined information. Why is this particular definition so important? It's got a couple of ideas I want to highlight. Number one, audience-specific. Audience-specific communication is vital. If you write to somebody, just any old buddy in the entire world, the general public, your piece of technical communication will fail. People need specific pieces of information in specific manners for doing specific things. That's what TechCom is all about. So audience specificity is at the heart of everything we do. Then, saving the reader time. If you torture your reader and waste their time, they will resent you. Then your piece of technical communication will have failed. We like to get to the point quickly, tell people what the deal is, and be done with it. Similarly, easy access. If you make your reader work hard to find the information, your piece of technical communication will have failed. Technical communication needs to be easily accessible and needs to have the information where people can get it and use it quickly and easily. Then, what kind of information? Well-defined information. Vague technical communication is bad technical communication. We want to say exactly what it is that we mean and avoid ambiguity. Ambiguity can cost a lot of money, a lot of time, and if that happens, then it's a big problem, particularly in the business world. So what again is technical writing? It's all about this. You need to train yourself to write differently than you did in your, say, composition classes, in your literature classes. In those courses, you're at 450 words, you need to get to 500, better start stuffing in some adjectives, vary your word choices, make them really different, make it colorful. We really don't do that in TechCom. We like a lean, mean, transparent writing. We like to pretend that the author is not even there. So there's a whole lot of ideas and theory that goes into this, but I'm going to teach you in this course a lot of the basics of how to do good technical writing, good basic technical writing in the workplace that'll get you ahead. A couple of big things we're going to talk about in this technical writing class. We're going to talk about some basic concerns. We're going to talk about what you're going to write in the workplace. We're going to talk about how to write in the workplace in particular. And we're also going to discuss oral presentations and have you do some of them as well. Let's talk basic concerns. There are two big ones we need to get out of the way first, and we'll talk about these in some detail as we progress through the class. But first off, ethics. What do you think ethics are? You've probably heard the word, but what is it exactly? Ethics are moral principles that govern behavior or the way you go about doing some sort of activity. Now you may think, well, gee, aren't we just supposed to follow the rules? Well, sure, you're supposed to follow the rules, but do all the rules apply all the time, to all people? In what situations? Ethics can get messy. We'll talk more about ethics, and we'll actually ask you to consider ethics as we move along through the entire course. Then, plagiarism. You've all heard the word before. Basically, it's taking somebody else's work or ideas and passing them off as your own. You can plagiarize words, images, sounds, designs, information structures. Anything that you can copy from one place and pass it off as your own is plagiarism. Please, do your own work. Don't plagiarize other people's stuff. It can be a huge, huge problem. And matter of fact, if you plagiarize at work, it can cost your company tens of thousands of dollars. Let's talk about what to write in the workplace. There are all sorts of ideas and things that you can do, but here are some of them we'll cover in this course. We're going to talk about professional correspondence, emails, memos, letters. You'll be doing all sorts of stuff like this in the workplace. Definitions and descriptions. These things are particularly useful for engineers, but we also need to use them in other contexts as well, so we can increase clarity and say exactly what it is we are always talking about. Instructions. They're directions. They tell people how to do things. We're going to do fairly simple instructions in this class, but at the same time, please realize that a lot of the instructions you see outside of class, they are all really, really bad. We're going to teach you how to write good instructions. Usability testing and user experience. User testing or usability testing is how we test instructions to find out if those instructions actually work or not. They're how we test items that we have designed and created to figure out if the user can use them effectively. This is actually a big thing in the world. There are people who specialize in working in UX. They can make a ton of money. It's big business, and we'll get you your feet wet into that. Proposals. These are plans or suggestions. They put forward for consideration or discussion and say, hey, boss, I think we ought to blank, or perhaps writing to another company and saying, dear company, here, let us do this thing for you. These are how companies make money, is proposals. Knowing how to write a good one is key. Conducting research. We'll talk a little bit about this because it is necessary to do research to write a good proposal and also to write a good report. Speaking of, you're going to learn how to write reports in this class. There are many different kinds of reports in the world. We're going to focus on a couple of them. And you are going to learn how to write formal reports and informal reports and be able to adapt those ideas that we give you to multiple situations. How you're going to write in the workplace is also really important because not only what are you going to write is how are you going to write it. So we're going to talk about principles of organization. We're going to talk about principles of document design. For example, creating white space and formatting headings, formatting body text, putting graphics in. Speaking of graphics, we'll talk about how to create them and where they go, how to treat them. You're also going to learn some about grammar and revisions. You've learned a lot of this stuff already in your English classes in the past. We're going to ask you to apply those ideas now. And we'll also talk about writing with clarity. So to make sure that what you write is clear, understandable, and usable. We're also going to discuss oral presentations in this course. We're going to do both individual and group presentations. You may be wondering, oh no, why do we need to do this? I thought this was writing class. Well, sort of. Technical communication is multimedia. And so as being hopefully a good class that teaches you useful stuff, and this is one of the more useful classes you will learn in your college career, I might add. We're going to talk about both individual and group presentations, oral presentations. That's because in the working world, you're going to be required to do these. Some will be individual, some will be part of a group. You need to practice both. So to wrap it up, this is me, Dr. Jonathan Arnett. There's my email address, jarnet11@kennesaw.edu. Please use that email address to contact me. You can also contact me via Microsoft Teams. So I've given you a little overview of what TCOM 2010 is all about. I look forward to seeing what you do in the rest of the class, and I think it's going to be great. Thanks very much.